going to tell somebody that they are abstinent, not celibate? You don't even know what context they're using the word celibate in. One of my least favorite things about the internet is that people seem to forget that there is not just one definition to a word. I keep seeing this dialogue online about how people who claim to be celibate are actually abstinent and that they're using the terms incorrectly. Now, I'm not saying that that's not true for some. People who are using the word celibacy or celibate, so under the context of religion, is going to have a completely different outlook on that word outside of religion. To some, abstaining is having a partner or having someone that you can engage in the activity with, but you're abstaining from doing so. In which case, abstaining from the act is the correct word, but celibacy can be used in more ways than one. One of the definitions of celibacy is to remain abstinent over an extended period of time, whereas abstinence typically has like a shorter time frame, like a specific time frame, and celibacy does not. I don't have anyone that I'm abstaining from the act with. I am choosing to be celibate over an extended period of time until I meet who I believe is my husband. So please stop telling people that they are using the word wrong if you don't know the context that they're using the word under. Don't assume that people are ignorant to the definitions of the words just because you have a different context of the word.
I just love somebody who digs a little deeper and analyzes and does critical thinking. Oh my God, it just takes a little bit of going back to what you were taught back in the day about not stopping at the first definition of a word, but looking at the many different variations of usage of the word. Just like medication, y'all, it's multi-usage. It's a ton of other things that medicine treats. So see, I have the story of celibacy and abstinence. And I think for me, I wrote about it and I reiterate that the time I was celibate for 8 years, before I even knew to even use the word celibate, it was because I had started to forget when I became abstinent. And it was also exiting a very traumatic, stalkerish relationship. So I think emotionally we shut down. In my case, I emotionally shut down and preserved my body, things that had been abused, whether it was mentally, physically, emotionally, whatever, spiritually, it doesn't matter. I knew I was walking one with God just by the illumination of my spirit and how it projected to other people, how it drew people in. And I'm not talking just men. I'm talking about when people who are men and women of Christ can notice you because you're walking in the light of the Lord. I got so many compliments of that translucent light that I didn't even know how to receive that compliment at one point in the beginning, because it was like, what light? You know what I mean? Like I feel this glory every day. I know personally what space I'm in, but for God to show his glory and illuminate out of me to others, which is what he does. Amen. I started to be like, okay, God, you showing off. You showing yourself mighty and true, which is what you do. You testify through us. We testify what you're doing in us. And I was a witness. And then it bear witnesses to what he was doing in my life. And I knew I was celibate at that point. And then there was no rush for me to give expiration on when that period would end in my life. And so I had no desire to rush God's process. I had no desire to put an expiration date, nor did anybody ask me to, because it wasn't none of their business. Because if you have not been or is not seeking that same relationship at that time in your life, that is something that only you and God can work with and talk about. I had no desire to even talk about it. And at one point I thought I had to prove that I was celibate, but just amazing how God will send you to confirm that you're in his will. You're in alignment. And so I just wanted to say, abstinence and celibate, I walked the walk. I felt the joy of the Lord in that walk. It's not nothing about somebody one way is perfect the way they do it and vice versa, but abstaining, fasting, and celibacy have a great measure a favor attached if you replace it with something and challenge yourself to go even higher. You take your hands out of it and you take your controlling nature out of it and allow God to have his way in your life and move and shift some things around. It's something that you can speak about from a good, true, authentic place. So when you have to go back to that place again, it's no hesitation. Like right now, there's no hesitation. I abstained before I got a divorce for 2 years. Guess what? I didn't make my mind up to abstain. Our bed was defiled. So I didn't have to think it out. I didn't have to sort it out. I didn't have to clamp up. I didn't have to withdraw from my husband. I didn't have to keep intimacy from him because I was mad and irate. No, what it was emotionally and spiritually, we were disconnected. We were out of alignment. We had been unequally yoked for the whole time, basically. And so when all of that occurs, God started pushing me towards the focus on him and myself and drawing into my peace and getting my body and my spiritual alignment back in order, my thoughts. So I had looked up and I was abstinence in my marriage, and that was a problem for me. Amen. Understand that nobody's walk is your walk, but there is a walk that we have to accept and choose, and that God is waiting and he's knocking on the door. He's with us. He will never leave us or forsake us, but we got to know how we got to walk it out on that walk with God. And the only way to do that is seek his face, read his word, pray his promises back to him. Wait, be still and patient in the Lord. Have faith. And it takes a lot sometimes because of whatever's going on in your situation, but you have to have faith. Faith of a mustard seed. If that's what he's telling me, I can muster up the mustard seed. Amen. We can muster up the mustard seed to have faith for God to give us back our back pay for all that we've gone through and all that he shielded us from, all he's taken us through and where he's taken us to. All right. God's love and God's peace to you all. And I pray that if this is your walk like it is mine right now, wherever you're at in your season, I'm praying that God strengthens you, that he strips the desires of your heart and gives you the desires that he has for you. And it's not that you're missing out. It's a spiritual maturity, yes, that you have to be in, but you have to know what was robbed and stolen and taken from you by the thief in the night, the person that you aligned yourself with, who was working for the devil. Once you get tired of people taking off your plate that are unworthy, unappreciative, manipulative, narcissistic, whatever you want to say, that don't believe in reciprocity. Once you get tired of being tired of making your poor choices and overpouring and being in a drought space, once you get tired, celibacy and abstinence is nothing. It's a walk in the park. All right. Until next time. You know I had to do it. This your girl, Miss Motivational Mogul Mindset, Ava Cherie, the Inspired. God's love and God's peace to you all.